Welcome to Hub Highlights. My name's Pete, and today we're going to jump into rain sensors. What are they? How does it work? And is it worth it? Let's go. A really good scenario where rain sensors are really important. If you're someone who likes to travel or travels for work and can't always be home to turn the irrigation off, rain sensors are a great option. So we're going to feature two rain sensors today. We've got the Hunter rain sensor and the Rainbird rain sensor. Now, both rain sensors act exactly the same way. They stop the irrigation when the sensors get wet. So how this works is that as it rains, there's little cork discs in both of these, and the cork discs swell up. When they swell up, there's like a connection and it disconnects. That breaks the signal that goes between this sensor and this sensor back to their controller. Now, both of these you'll notice are wireless rain sensors, which means they don't need cables. This makes it really easy to install, and it also doesn't look hideous when you've got a conduit going down the side of your building. If you do need that solution, there are also cabled rain sensors as well. So when we look at the batteries on both of these units, we notice that the Hunter actually has a non-replaceable battery. The battery is designed to last for the life of the rain sensor. So that means when the battery goes flat, you do need to change out the whole unit. With the Rainbird, we have a CR3032 that gets inserted into the base. That can actually be replaced. So if it does run out of battery and the sensor is still working fine, you can replace that battery, no dramas at all. Both units have little indicator lights that can be used. With the Hunter, it's a little red light, and you can use this light to determine how much battery life is left. Usually the battery will blink a certain number of times to indicate how full or how empty the battery. On the Rainbird, we have the exact same thing, but it's under a little white cap there, and it's like a ambient light that goes behind it, and it does the same thing, flashes to let you know the battery life. And you can refer to the manuals to understand what those flashes mean. Each rain sensor has their own branded controller that it sends information back. So let's look at the Hunter one first. As we lift the cover off the sensor, we have a bypass and a status light. Under here, there is also a test button. This is used to see what state the rain sensor is in. So what you'll notice that if it's rained, there'll be a red light that indicates that it's wet. The sensor is wet, so therefore the irrigation will not run. When the wind comes and all the elements come and dry out the corks, then the sensor will flick over to green and the irrigation will resume its cycle, like nothing ever happened. We have an antenna, and then we've also got a point to mount your receiver to the wall, and we also have some cables here off to the side. We have two yellow cables that are your power cables, and this gets put into your irrigation controller. Now, if you're not familiar with 24 volt AC systems, you're best to get an irrigation professional or someone that is familiar with those sort of systems. The other three cables that we have here are a white, a blue, and a brown. Now, the way we use this is we can use our sensor, our rain sensor, to be either normally open or normally closed. So depending on if we want it to be wet and we want the irrigation system to be operating when it's wet, we might say it's normally open. But if it's like 99% of the time where we want the sensor to stop when it's wet, we will say it's normally closed. If you have any doubts about which cables to use, look in the manual and it will give you a really good detailed explanation about what colors to use and where to put them in the controller. As we look to the Rainbird receiver, we lift that hatch, it's all plastic this one, and we notice that there's a few more buttons and it's a little LCD display. So what we can't actually see is that there are a lot of symbols that are shown when this is powered up. You'll get to see how wet the sensor is. You'll get to see whether there's a rain delay or a delay, such as a 24-hour or 72-hour delay with the actual controller. So once it's rained, we don't want to irrigate for another 72 hours. So that can be programmed into your receiver. You'll also notice that there'll be a battery life. So we can actually see the battery without going to the sensor and checking it there. We can actually see the battery life here. So it's another pro in the Rainbird corner, but both units are very good. So the other thing I wanted to talk about with rain sensors in general, rain sensors are designed to help us reduce the amount of irrigation that happens when it has rained. Now, when you do have a rain sensor, make sure you test it every 6 months. Ensure that the sensor is working properly, check the battery levels, and just make sure that it's doing what you're expecting it to do, because you don't want to rely on something that can fail. The irrigation will keep going and we will think things are okay. So I hope you got something out of this little video about rain sensors. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we will see you in the next video.